Thank you for listening to this worship podcast of St. Andrew Lutheran Church. We hope this recording provides you with a moment of God's grace wherever this finds you. Know that you're welcome to join us in person for worship in Eden Prairie on Sunday mornings at 9 or 10:30. And also know that any contribution you make will bolster St. Andrew's ministry and outreach, including our podcasting directly to you. You can do so online. Welcome and God's blessings to you.
Our reading this morning is from the Gospel according to John, the 4th chapter. But Jesus had to go through Samaria. So he came to a Samaritan city called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired out by his journey, was sitting by the well. It was about noon. A Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." His disciples had gone to the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask a drink of me, a woman of Samaria?" Jews do not share things in common with Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have no bucket, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? Are you greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us the well and with his sons and his flocks drank from it?" Jesus said to her, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but those who drink of the water that I will give them will never be thirsty. The water that I will give will become in them a spring of water gushing up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I may never be thirsty or have to keep coming here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go call your husband and come back." The woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I see that you are a prophet. I know the Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will proclaim all things to us." Jesus said to her, "I am he, the one who is speaking to you." Just then his disciples came. They were astonished that he was speaking with a woman, but no one said, "What do you want?" or "Why are you speaking with her?" Then the woman left her water jar and went back to the city. She said to the people, "Come and see a man who told me everything I have ever done. He cannot be the Messiah, can he?" They left the city and were on their way to him. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
What does it mean for us to learn some new dance steps? 31 years ago, before Michelle and I were married, I think it was her bright idea, not mine, that we should take a ballroom dancing class over in St. Paul. Several nights over the course of a few weeks of time learning the foxtrot and this and that as we made our way through this process together. We were getting ready, of course, for our wedding that was coming up August of that year. And plus, we were just having fun as well, doing what a young couple would do. We joke a lot about how I did not take the leadership in dancing with Michelle, in which she would say to me, "Peter, lead." And then Michelle would say back to me, if you would lead, I would follow. So anyway, we would go back and forth, and we had fun. But then fast forward then to 9 months ago when the same opportunity came for not only us to remember that experience of over 30 years ago, but for Alex and Liz's wedding this past August, and the hiring in a private studio for just an hour with a dance instructor from Puerto Rico. We could again enjoy the fact that I am not a good leader on the dance floor, but Michelle is. But to enjoy also seeing Alex and Liz begin their process of getting ready for their wedding themselves. So learning to dance a new step is not so simple. And I'm not just only talking about me, who can be a little awkward and a little stiff in the way that I move around, but I'm thinking even more deeply and widely around how we're called also as people of God to learn some new dance steps every once in a while. It's better that we can learn something new about what God and what Jesus has to share with us so that we might learn to dance in a new way. We're better when we can be practiced in something new, I think. We also know as well that we can become very good at doing things that are not in our best interest. We can find ourselves dancing in a certain way, in a certain concept, or in a certain world, in a certain life, where these things aren't good for us. They don't build us up. And so we need to learn to dance a different dance. Sometimes it means unlearning how we have learned to dance, or to undo the ways in which we do the dance. And Jesus comes alongside us today to think about upside down leaders in our world, to see new things about ourselves, about our neighbors, around the people around us, and to see that God is indeed dancing in our world, dancing in ways that are surprising and marvelous. We have in our story that Pastor Matthew read the story of a woman from Samaria. She is unlikely. She is unqualified. It is very easy to place the Samaritan woman into that box, to place a label on her, because she is this unusual and unlikely character. A Samaritan woman, as Pastor Matthew read, the Jews and the Samaritans did not relate to one another, worshiped on separate places, lived in separate places. They did not relate to one another. So what is a man, a Jew, and a rabbi doing talking to a Samaritan? She's also a woman, too. Women those days that were more property than they were in integral identities in and of themselves. Women whose role was in this place and not that. And when the disciples came later on, as Pastor Matthew read, why are you talking to this woman? It's a common phrase back in those days. It was a dance back in those days. It was a way in which people danced. She also had a complicated personal history as well. The story about the 5 husbands and the extra now, the 6th, the man that she's living with. Yes, there's divorce. Yes, there's life expectancies that was short, but she had a complicated personal history that Jesus knew right away. But what I love about this character, the Samaritan woman, is that Jesus took the moment to entrust with her the image of living water. She gave that to her. The living water, that's not like the water that she goes to Jacob's well over and over again to fill up the jugs and nourish her family, as she made her way back to the village day after day after day, but a living water of grace and truth and love that you don't need to go back to the well. Once you have it, once you believe it in the life and the ministry of Jesus, it is alive. It is life-giving. And it was to the Samaritan woman that Jesus gave this message, and dare I say, started a little new dance in the Samaritan woman's life. She goes back, as our story goes, to the village. and shares with the people in the village a simple 3-word sermon. There might be some Sunday mornings when you wish Pastor Matthew and I only had 3 words in our sermon. Come and see. Come and see the living water. Jesus is at the well, and he said to me things that I did not know anyone knew about in me, but he knows me, and he talked with me, and he shared with me, and she became a witness. She did not need to change before being used by God. She did not have to become someone else. Jesus did not deny her past, but did not reduce her because of it either. Jesus embraced her who she was and used her just as she was, and the dance with her in ministry began. So it makes me wonder a couple of questions here this morning. Do we see around us in the world people? Or do we see people with potential around us the way that Jesus does? I mean, a real gut check. Do we see individuals that are Samaritans, so to speak, or women, so to speak, or that are living on the other side of the track, so to speak, people who are different than us, who behave differently than us? Can we see within them the kind of potential and the kind of impact that these people can make? I think we find ourselves saying to ourselves in honesty that we see potential in some, but we don't see potential in all. Am I right about that, or am I right? But Jesus has a way of seeing the potential in people around us so that we cannot put them in a box. We cannot attach a label on someone, even when we think we know what it is that we are seeing. About a month ago, I had the opportunity to go back to Nokomis Heights Lutheran Church, where I served as pastor from 2004 to 2008. We were back, Michelle and me, for a memorial service of one of the members who had passed away from ALS, and the church was packed. So we, of course, made our way along with everyone else to come alongside the family and our friends there. And I was delighted to be able to see 3 young men who are now far taller than me, having shared 4 years of life and ministry with these 3 confirmation students back in the day. Their names were Peter and Michael. And let me just say that either they were my nemesis, maybe that's not the right word to share. They were my foil, so to speak, as we were leading in confirmation, and I was, and even did a trip to the National Youth Gathering in San Antonio with them. And yes, I mean 11 p.m. Lights are out, boys. Lights are out. So the recollections of memories that I had with Peter and Michael were in some ways tinged by those experiences, right? They were these rambunctious and energetic 7th and 8th graders back in those days. But I had a chance, of course, and Michelle and I have been following them for many years. And just when you think you can put a label on them, then I get a chance to reconnect with each one of them in this crowded basement reception following the memorial service. Michael is a really, really great dad, the way he was caring for his kids. Peter, one of the Peters, as it turns out, and we've been following him, is an attorney, is a professor at the Mitchell Hamlin Law School, and really takes a lot of effort to mentor students at the law school. And also Peter, the other Peter, is literally went on to get a degree in research and is curing cancer at an MIT lab in Boston. So here are these 3 young men who we are so fond of as we watch them grow and to be And here they are back in those days, dancing a dance these days, doing what I like to think is something that God has called them to be and to do. That they're finding a way to live out their faith in daily life, as we talk about here at St. Andrew, but living a life of impact out there. But how quick it is back in those days to paint with a really broad brushstroke, to say that a leader among us is eloquent and polished, that a leader is influential, and what could possibly happen with a 7th or an 8th grader. Just yesterday, a crew of 50 confirmation students was in Minneapolis on a service trip down into the city and spent time at Augustana Lutheran Church and Community Emergency Service of Food Shelf there, bringing hundreds of pounds and volunteering. One of the confirmation students told Shauna Berg, our Children's Youth and Family Director, that he actually had fun yesterday. That is the future Peter and Michael. They will become more than what we totally know. But do we or do we not see the potential in everyone? Do we let people have a potential? Do we judge them too quickly for looking this way or acting this way? Do we assign labels too quickly? Do we put people into simple buckets? I think we do. We give thanks that God says we're going to dance a new dance and find new ways to live and to serve with the living water. There are other examples of these kinds of things that also give me hope for life in the world today. One particular story I heard this past week is a member here at St. Andrew Lutheran Church who's retired from teaching in another district in Minnetonka. And the story goes like this. She was walking through a parking lot, making her way. She was an elementary school teacher, walking through the parking lot. And I'll call her Ms. Johnson because this person is very humble and would not want to be called out at all. But she was walking through a parking lot, and someone in the parking lot called out from a distance, "Ms. Johnson? Miss Johnson?" And so a young woman came up to her and introduced herself and reminded her who she was in saying that you were my 4th grade teacher. And I am a teacher now myself in the elementary school because of you. Impacts can be made. Influences can be passed along so that others can find and receive and grow into who they are going to be. And how wonderful it is to see that these kinds of things work in quiet ways, in inspirational ways, ways that you, friends, will really never know until you yourself are walking through a parking lot someday and someone calls out your name. So in some ways, we label people too quickly, but we also don't realize fully, too, that we are each and every day inspiring people around us to live and be and to grow into who they might become, even though we don't realize that we are even doing it. Miss Johnson, you were my teacher, and I am a teacher because of you. I was also inspired by another conversation of someone who is in my life, a faithful person, son of the daughter of a pastor, who in her life has the ability to think philanthropically with what she would like to do as a person of faith in the world. And we had a dinner together a couple of weeks ago, and she was describing how in her life that she has had a multitude of experiences around the world, has seen cultures and people from a variety of places, and she feels blessed to have had those opportunities all the way through her being raised and throughout her professional life. So she has decided if she's going to do anything with philanthropy or faithful giving, she is going to make sure that people have an opportunity to go beyond what they already know and into a place and into a community or somewhere out in the world that will help them get to know the people there and to change their life as well. And so she and her philanthropy sets up scholarships so that those who said, I can't do this because I don't have the funding, there is funding available for people to step out of themselves and to see a Samaritan woman, to engage with the impact that that might make, and to help people see that the world is small, that there are commonalities everywhere, and that opportunities to inspire and for people to think differently and widely make a difference. These are stories about how we are invited into a new dance. So I do like the image of learning some new dance steps, as you can tell. I want you to be thinking about here today, learning the new dance steps. Awkward and tough and new, not just on the dance floor, of course, but the way in which you see the world and relate to the world, the way that you think the world is, but maybe it really isn't. Because Jesus is coming alongside this Samaritan woman and is reminding us that there is indeed a God of the dance. The Lord of the Dance is a song that I sang growing up, a dance where God's creativity is there, where there is joy there, where there are smiles, where there are people who are emerging into who they are going to be and how the world is going to take shape, to reimagine how God is working in the world. So God is dancing in our world. There are elements of it. There are those of us who are living our faith in daily life. There are ways in which we are coming alongside things. And I would say that if God is dancing in the world, then we too are sharing in that possibility. With God, there is light and love and healing. There's abundant life. There is living water. And perhaps we can see today where God is taking the lead to lead us onward into newness and into serving and into good and just community together. May we live to dance again in a new way what God is doing through us all. In Jesus' name. Thank you for listening to this worship podcast of St. Andrew Lutheran Church. We hope that this recording provides you with a moment of God's grace wherever this finds you. Any contribution you make to St. Andrew will bolster our ministry and outreach, including our podcasting directly to you. You can do so online. Thank you for joining us for this podcast, and I wish you every blessing from Christ today.